is 1720. Edo Japan is a tapestry woven with threads of rigid tradition, political maneuvering, and the ever-present glint of steel. In the heart of Minamoto territory, nestled amongst the misty mountains, young Yuncha carried the weight of his clan's history upon his slender shoulders. Yuncha was not concerned with politics, nor with the petty squabbles of lords. His life was the spear from dawn till dusk, his world was defined by the thrust, the parry, the deadly dance of steel. He was a prodigy, his skill unmatched, his dedication unwavering. Barely 20 summers had kissed his skin, yet his eyes held the weariness of a man twice his age. Years of rigorous training had sculpted a lean, wiry frame, every movement honed to lethal precision. He moved with a quiet grace, a reflection of the profound intensity that simmered beneath his composed exterior. He was a Minamoto, and duty was etched into his very being. His father, Lord Minamoto, was a man carved from granite, his heart as cold and unyielding as the mountain peaks that surrounded their fortress. From the moment Yuncha could walk, he had been molded into a weapon, a tool to further the clan's ambitions. Respect and obedience were the cornerstones of their relationship, yet affection remained a stranger. Yuncha's mother, a gentle soul who had perished during a harsh famine when he was a boy, was a stark contrast to his father. He remembered her quiet acts of kindness towards the suffering villagers, her genuine compassion, a beacon in a world consumed by clan rivalry and ruthless ambition. Her death had left a void, a yearning for a more peaceful and benevolent existence. That yearning was a dangerous seed to nurture within the Minamoto clan. He was reminded of this during the lesson with the bandit. As a teenager, he had been forced to execute a captured thief, a man who begged for mercy, pleading to return to his family. Yuncha had hesitated, the bandit's desperate cries echoing the silent pleas within his own heart. His father, his face a mask of disdain, had berated him for his weakness, forcing him to deliver the killing blow. The memory haunted him, a constant reminder of the clan's brutality and his own complicity. Now, standing before his father in the austere receiving room, the weight of expectation threatened to crush him. Lord Minamoto's gaze was unwavering, his voice a low, resonant rumble that brooked no dissent. Yuncha, he began, the single word heavy with import. The Hotomo clan grows too strong. Junto, their leader, is a charismatic fool, but his influence spreads like wildfire amongst the common folk. He speaks of unity, of peace, dangerous whispers that undermine our authority. Yuncha's heart sank. He knew what was coming. You will assassinate Junto Kenji, his father declared, the words falling like stones. His death will sow chaos and remind everyone of the true power in this land. You will restore order. The mandate was a crushing blow. Tudo, the clan's advisor, nodded in agreement. Yuncha had trained his whole life for this, to serve his clan, to obey his father. But the thought of taking another life, especially one who spoke of peace, filled him with a profound unease. He swallowed hard, his voice barely a whisper. Hi, Shisui, yes, father. His father's expression remained impassive. Failure is not an option. The honor of the Minamoto clan rests upon your shoulders. Should you fail, seppuku will be your only recourse. The word hung in the air, heavy with the promise of ritual suicide. Yuncha bowed low, accepting his fate. He was a samurai, and duty demanded sacrifice, even his own life. As he left his father's presence, a familiar voice called his name. Rina, his childhood friend, waited patiently in the courtyard. Her bright eyes, the color of cherry blossoms, held a warmth that always eased the chill in his heart. Yuncha, what troubles you? She asked, her voice laced with concern. He hesitated, knowing that sharing his burden could endanger her. But he trusted Rina, her unwavering loyalty a constant in his turbulent world. He told her everything, his voice barely audible above the rustling of the bamboo leaves. He saw the worry etched on her face, but also a quiet understanding. You question this mission, she said softly. I can see it in your eyes. He nodded, unable to deny the truth. I don't understand why we must resort to violence. Junto speaks of unity, of cooperation. Is that truly so dangerous? Rina sighed, her gaze distant. Such thoughts are considered naive, Yuncha. The clans have been at war for generations. Peace is a dream for children, but is it a dream worth pursuing? He asked, his voice filled with desperation. Rina placed a hand on his arm, her touch grounding him. You must follow your heart, Yuncha. But be careful. The Minamoto clan tolerates no dissent. He was grateful for her unwavering friendship. She was a source of solace. He found peace in her company. His only guidance was from his sword instructor, Master Ito. Ito was a seasoned warrior, his face etched with the wisdom of countless battles. He had taught Yuncha everything he knew about the art of the sword, but also about the importance of discipline and self-reflection. The path of the samurai is not always clear, Yuncha, Ito said one evening as they practiced in the dojo. It is a path filled with difficult choices and moral compromises. You must learn to discern what is right for you. But how can I be sure? Yuncha asked. How can I reconcile my duty to the clan with my own conscience? Ito paused, his gaze piercing. The answer lies within you, Yuncha. Listen to your heart, but temper it with reason and wisdom. The true samurai is not a mindless weapon but a warrior of integrity and compassion. Yuncha traveled far, to the heart of the Hotomo territory, to the village of Samuria. He approached the village slowly, cautiously, melting into the bustling marketplace, his senses heightened, searching for any sign of Junto. He observed, he listened, and what he found surprised him. The villagers spoke of Junto with reverence, not as a warlord, but as a benevolent leader. They spoke of his efforts to improve their lives, his commitment to justice, and his unwavering belief in peace. He saw it himself. Farmers bartered with merchants, children laughed as they played, and elders shared stories under the shade of ancient trees. There was a sense of harmony, a sense of community that was starkly absent in his own clan's territory. One evening, disguised as a wandering traveler, Yuncha found himself in the village square, listening to Junto address the crowd. He was not the fearsome tyrant his father had painted him to be. He was a man of the people, his voice filled with passion, his words resonating with hope. We must strive for unity, not division, Junto declared, his eyes sweeping across the crowd. We must build bridges, not walls. We must embrace peace, not war. Yuncha felt a stirring within his heart, a recognition of the truth he had long suppressed. He saw the genuine affection the villagers held for Junto, their unwavering belief in his vision. He saw the prosperity and harmony that had blossomed under his leadership. For the first time in his life, Yuncha questioned everything he had been taught. He questioned his father's motives, the clan's ambitions, and his own role in perpetuating the cycle of violence. He questioned the very definition of duty, of loyalty, of honor. He sought him out, asking a local where the benevolent leader was. He was directed to a humble tea house, where Junto was known to frequent. He found Junto alone, sipping tea as he read, his face etched with the weariness of leadership. Gathering his courage, Yuncha approached him, his hand instinctively resting on the hilt of his sword. Junto-sama, he said, his voice low and respectful. Junto looked up, his eyes meeting Yuncha's with a gentle curiosity. Welcome, traveler. What brings you to me? Yuncha hesitated, struggling to find the words to explain his true purpose. I have come to understand your vision, he said finally, the words sounding hollow even to his own ears. Junto smiled, a warm and genuine smile that disarmed Yuncha completely. Then sit with me, traveler, and let us share a cup of tea. They spoke for hours, Yuncha asking questions, Junto answering with patience and wisdom. He learned about Junto's desire for a unified Japan, a land where all clans could coexist in peace and prosperity. He learned about his belief in the inherent goodness of humanity, his unwavering commitment to justice and compass. As he listened, Yuncha felt the weight of his mission pressing down on him, a crushing burden of guilt and shame. He realized that he did not want to kill Junto, not after seeing the good he had done, not after hearing his words of peace, but he also knew that he could not return to his father empty-handed. Failure meant death, not only for himself, but perhaps for Rina, For his entire clan he was trapped between two impossible choices, his heart torn between duty and conscience. Yuncha had not been concerned with politics, nor with the petty squabbles of lords. His life was the spear and sword. From dawn till dusk, his world was defined by the thrust, the parry, the deadly dance of steel. He was a prodigy, his skill unmatched, his dedication unwavering. But even the greatest skill could not guarantee victory against a cunning foe like Junto. Junto was everything Yuncha was not. He was a horseman, renowned for his skill with the bow from horseback. He was loved, a trait that made him admired by his people and feared by his enemies. It was said that women flocked to him, and sake flowed freely in his presence. He would be a formidable opponent, both on and off the battlefield. Under the cloak of the moonless night later, Yuncha decided he would make his move. Yuncha left Junto, returning to his room he had purchased on the other side of Samuria, the Hotomo clan's capital. The village, famed for its breathtaking cherry blossom trees, was a picture of tranquility. But Yuncha knew that beneath the beauty lay danger. When he returned later that night to the roads outside of Junto's villa, he arrived with nothing but his spear, his horse, and the burning, reluctant determination to fulfill his mission. Samuia's streets, even at night, were as meticulously ordered as a geisha's makeup. Yuncha quickly located Junto's residence, a grand estate befitting a clan leader. But it was heavily guarded, patrols marching with a rhythmic precision that made direct assault impossible. Yuncha knew he couldn't simply charge in. He needed a plan, an opening. Days turned into nights as he observed Junto, mapping his movements, studying his habits. He found a pattern, a nightly escape from the pressures of leadership. Junto had a fondness for drink and the company of women. Each night, he would leave his estate, disappearing into the back alleys of Samuria. One night, as the moon cast long, eerie shadows, Yuncha followed Junto. He watched as the Hotomo leader strolled down the main road, his steps betraying a growing intoxication. Yuncha kept his distance, concealed in the darkness, waiting for the right moment. Junto turned into a narrow alley, the air thick with the scent of sake and cheap perfume. Yuncha followed, his spear held ready. This was it. But as he stepped into the alley, he knew he had been led into a trap. Torches flared to life, illuminating the space. The alley was wider than it seemed, an open area surrounded by armed men. Junto stood at the far end, a smirk playing on his lips. Yuncha of the Minamoto, Junto's voice echoed in the confined space. I expected you to come. My sources tell me you're good, but you're predictable. You're a spear, and the spear only knows one path, forward. Yuncha remained silent, his grip tightening on his spear. He had been outmaneuvered, his every move anticipated. But he would not surrender. He had come too far, sacrificed too much. He would meet his fate with honor, even in this treacherous alley. You misunderstand me, Junto, Yuncha said, his voice calm despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The spear knows many paths. It can strike forward, yes, but it can also defend, evade, and counter. You may have set this trap, but you underestimate my resolve. Junto laughed, a cold, mocking sound. Brave words, Yuncha. But words are wind. Let's see if your spear can match your courage. With a wave of his hand, Junto signaled his men to attack. Arrows rained down from the rooftops, while swordsmen charged from the front. Yuncha moved with a speed that defied belief. His spear became a blur, deflecting arrows and parrying sword blows. He was a whirlwind of motion, a one-man army against overwhelming odds. He fought not with rage, but with a cold, calculated precision. Each thrust, each parry, was executed with flawless technique. He was a master of his art, his skill honed over years of relentless training, but the sheer number of his opponents began to wear him down. He deflected an arrow, but another grazed his arm. A swordsman lunged, forcing him to parry, leaving his flank exposed. He felt a sharp pain in his side, a searing reminder of his mortality. Junto watched from the shadows, his expression unreadable. He admired Yuncha's skill, his unwavering determination. But he also knew that even the greatest warrior could be broken. Yuncha pressed on, his movements growing slower, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He knew he couldn't win. But he wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing him fall. He would fight until his last breath, until his spear was shattered, until his body could no longer move. In a desperate gamble, Yuncha focused all his remaining energy into a single, devastating thrust. He aimed for Junto, his spear cutting through the air with blinding speed. Junto, surprised by the sudden surge of power, barely managed to deflect the blow with his sword. But the force of the impact knocked him off balance, leaving him vulnerable. Yuncha seized his chance. He spun, using the momentum to deliver a powerful kick to Junto's chest. The Hotomo leader stumbled backward, his sword falling from his grasp. Yuncha stood over him, his spear pointed at Junto's throat. He could end it now, fulfill his mission, and return to his clan a hero. But as he looked into Junto's eyes, he saw not fear but respect. Finish it, Junto said, his voice barely a whisper. You've earned it. Yuncha hesitated. He had come here to kill Junto, to avenge his clan's honor. But now, facing the man he had come to destroy, he felt a strange sense of camaraderie. They were both warriors, bound by a code of honor, forged in the fires of conflict. He lowered his spear. I cannot, he said. This fight was not fought with honor. You lured me into a trap. Victory here would be hollow. Junto nodded, a faint smile on his lips. Perhaps, he said. But you have proven your worth. You are a true samurai, Yuncha of the Minamoto. Yuncha turned and walked away, leaving Junto standing in the alley. He knew he had failed his mission, disobeyed his father's orders. But he had chosen honor over vengeance, integrity over blind obedience. He rode away, the first rays of dawn painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson. He knew he would face the consequences of his actions. But he also knew that he had made the right choice. He had remained true to himself, and in doing so, he had won a different kind of victory, a victory that transcended clan rivalries and political ambitions. He would, indeed, be forced to commit seppuku, but he would do it with honor, knowing he had faced death on his own terms. And perhaps, in time, his actions would plant the seeds of peace between the clans. His life would be forfeit, but his honor, and the hope for a better future, would remain.